Family betrayal stories always shock us because they reveal the darkest truth. Those closest to us can hurt us most. My story begins with that betrayal. The wind rushed past my ears as I fell backward through empty space. Time slowed to a crawl. In that suspended moment between life and death, I watched my son-in-law's face grow smaller above me. Not panicked, not shocked, but coldly satisfied as he watched me plummet toward what should have been my death. I didn't scream. 72 years of life had taught me one thing: save your breath for fighting. My name is Eleanor Blackwell, and this is the story of how my daughter's husband tried to kill me for $2 billion, and how I turned the tables on him. Eleanor. Vincent's voice echoed down the cliff face, performing concern for my daughter's benefit. Oh my God. Hold on. As my body slammed against an outcropping ledge, shattering my left arm and cracking 3 ribs, I made a silent vow: if I survived, he would pay for every inch I fell. Have you ever felt that gut instinct warning you about someone close to you? That quiet voice saying something isn't right, even when everything looks perfect on the surface. I ignored mine for far too long. Also download your ebook titled Suspense and Family Drama Short Stories by clicking the link in the pinned comment. I built my fortune from nothing. My husband Raymond and I started Blackwell Global Logistics with 1 truck and a dream in 1975. While most women were still being told to stay home, I was negotiating with dock workers and routing shipments across the country. When Raymond died 15 years ago, I didn't just maintain our company. I quadrupled its value through strategic acquisitions and expanding into technology-driven shipping solutions. Our estate in the Hudson Valley became my sanctuary. 15 acres of privacy with views that reminded me daily of how far I'd come from my childhood in a cramped Bronx apartment. My daughter Priscilla grew up surrounded by privilege but never entitlement. I made sure of that. She became a brilliant attorney with her father's analytical mind and my stubborn determination. Then Vincent Reed walked into her life at a charity gala 5 years ago. "Mother, he's different," Priscilla insisted when I expressed reservations after their 3rd date. "He sees me, not the Blackwell fortune." Vincent was handsome, charming, and articulate. A financial advisor with an impressive client list. His smile reached everyone in the room except his eyes. Those remained calculating, assessing everything like assets on a balance sheet. I remember the first time I caught a glimpse behind his mask. We were celebrating Priscilla's birthday at the estate. Vincent was refilling drinks when my longtime security chief Frank approached me with some paperwork. Vincent's attention snapped to us like a predator spotting movement. Later, I found him in my study, claiming he was looking for the bathroom. My private financial documents were slightly disturbed on the desk. After their wedding, the incidents began. My brake lines mysteriously failed while driving to a board meeting. A gas leak appeared in the guest house the day I was supposed to stay there while the main house was being renovated. My daily heart medication was replaced with similar-looking pills that would have caused a stroke if my housekeeper Rosita hadn't noticed the slight difference in color. Each time, Vincent was conveniently elsewhere with airtight alibis. Each time, he suggested I was becoming confused and forgetful. "Mother, you work too hard," Priscilla would say, concern etching her beautiful face. Maybe Vincent is right. Maybe it's time to consider stepping back. I watched my daughter torn between the 2 people she loved most: her mother who raised her and the husband who manipulated her. Vincent was patient, planting seeds of doubt about my mental acuity, suggesting medical evaluations, floating ideas about quality of life and succession planning. Then came the mysterious document. While searching for my reading glasses in Vincent's home office during a dinner party, I discovered paperwork for new offshore accounts. Names were redacted, but the amounts matched my primary holdings exactly. When I confronted him, he laughed it off as client paperwork he'd brought home. That night, I contacted my attorney to update my will and security protocols. But Vincent was already 3 steps ahead. Mother. Wonderful news. Priscilla announced one Sunday dinner. Vincent has arranged a family trip to Rockwood Mountains next week. Just the 3 of us, like you've always wanted. Vincent raised his wine glass, his smile not quite reaching those cold eyes. To family togetherness. At long last. I knew Rockwood Mountains well, its breathtaking views, its treacherous hiking paths, its fatal drops that claimed hikers every year. My stomach tightened with that warning instinct again. But looking at my daughter's hopeful face, I made a fatal mistake. I agreed to go. I'd love that, I said, matching Vincent's smile with one of my own. Nothing is more important than family. As he clinked his glass against mine, neither of us believed the other's performance. But only one of us knew exactly what was about to happen on that mountain. And Vincent Reed thought it would be him. The sun beat down on my face as we hiked the notorious Falcons Ridge Trail at Rockwood Mountains. Vincent had insisted on this particular path, known for its stunning views, and its dangerous drops. Just a little further, Mother, Vincent called, leading us toward the lookout point. The view is worth the extra effort. I followed cautiously, noting how he positioned himself behind me on the narrow path. Priscilla had stopped to take photos of wildflowers about 50 yards back. We were alone. At Eagle's Overlook, I stood admiring the valley below, my back to Vincent. The wind played with my silver hair as I took in what he hoped would be my final view. Magnificent, isn't it? I said, sensing him moving closer. Truly breathtaking, he replied, his voice oddly flat. I felt his hands against my back. Not a gentle touch, but a forceful, determined shove. My hiking boots skidded on loose gravel as my center of gravity shifted beyond recovery. In that terrible moment, I saw his face, expressionless, like someone completing a simple business transaction. My body tumbled through open air. No scream escaped my lips, just a sharp intake of breath as survival instinct took over. My hand shot out, grabbing desperately at anything. By some miracle, my fingers caught a jutting root. The sudden stop dislocated my shoulder, but slowed my fall enough that when I hit the narrow ledge 15 feet down, I survived the impact. Pain exploded through my left side. My arm twisted unnaturally beneath me, ribs cracking on impact. Blood warmed my face from a gash across my forehead. Through waves of agony, I heard Vincent's voice, now performing panic. Eleanor. Oh God. Can you hear me? Hold on. I remained perfectly still, my survival depending on my performance. I heard Priscilla's footsteps running toward the overlook, her terrified voice calling my name. Mom. Mom. Vincent, what happened? She was taking a photo and slipped, he lied smoothly. Call 911. I lay motionless as their voices faded in and out. The mountain rescue team arrived 90 minutes later, securing me to a backboard and helicopter lifting me to trauma care. Through it all, I kept my eyes closed, processing one crystal-clear thought: Vincent had just made his final mistake. White hospital walls surrounded me as I drifted in and out of consciousness. 3 broken ribs, a shattered arm, concussion, and internal bleeding. Serious but not fatal. Vincent had failed. She's lucky to be alive, I heard a doctor tell Priscilla. Falls like that are rarely survivable. I decided to appear weaker than I was. When Vincent and Priscilla visited, I slurred my words and appeared disoriented, watching Vincent's subtle satisfaction when the doctor mentioned possible cognitive impairment from the head trauma. Don't worry, Eleanor, Vincent said, patting my hand while Priscilla stepped out to speak with the doctor. We'll take care of everything. You just focus on recovering. His eyes told a different story, disappointment that I wasn't in the morgue. On the 3rd night, partially sedated but alert, I heard them whispering outside my room, thinking I was asleep. The doctors say she might need months of rehabilitation, Vincent said. We need to discuss power of attorney while she recovers. Vincent, it's too soon, Priscilla protested. Mom's always handled her own affairs. That was before this accident, he countered. The company needs leadership now. Your mother would want a smooth transition during her recovery. Their footsteps faded down the hall, but the conversation had confirmed everything. When the nurse brought my personal tablet the next morning, I used the few minutes alone to check my secure email. My executive assistant had flagged multiple attempt notifications from our cybersecurity team. Someone had tried accessing my accounts using my credentials during the exact hours I was being rescued from the mountain. The login attempts originated from Vincent's laptop. I needed allies, people Vincent wouldn't suspect. Using the hospital's poor excuse for privacy, I made 2 critical calls while supposedly sleeping. Dominique Garcia had headed my security detail for 15 years. Former military intelligence, she was the only person outside my immediate family with access to all my properties and security protocols. Miss Blackwell, her voice answered on the first ring. I've been trying to reach you. Someone doesn't want you to, I whispered. I need you here. Room 412. Come alone. Tell no one. My second call was to Gloria Washington, a retired detective who'd consulted for my company on international shipping security. Gloria had an uncanny ability to see through deception. More importantly, she owed me a favor after I helped clear her son of false charges years ago. They arrived separately, blending in with hospital staff. When the door closed, I dropped my frail patient act. Vincent pushed me off that cliff, I stated flatly. And he's trying to access my accounts. Neither woman looked surprised. We suspected something when we couldn't reach you, Dominique said. Your emergency protocols weren't initiated after the accident. Gloria nodded. Vincent's story about you slipping doesn't match the injuries. The force required for those fractures suggests a push, not a fall. I laid out my plan. First, I would appear to need extended rehabilitation. Weeks in a facility where Vincent couldn't monitor me. Second, we would gather evidence of his attempted murder and financial crimes. Finally, we would set a trap using his own greed against him. He thinks I'm helpless, I said, a cold smile forming. Let's let him keep thinking that. 3 days later, I was transferred to Lakeside Rehabilitation Center, at least according to hospital records. In reality, Dominique drove me to my estate's rarely used East Wing, built during a renovation years ago and accessible through a private entrance hidden by dense landscaping. The wing is completely self-contained, Dominique explained as she helped me into a wheelchair. Separate utilities, secure communications, and invisible from the main house. Gloria arrived with surveillance equipment that would make government agencies envious. Within hours, every room in the main house had eyes and ears reporting back to our command center. Vincent and Priscilla return from the hospital tomorrow, Gloria said, reviewing security footage. He's already made 3 calls to offshore accounts and visited your home office twice. I watched the surveillance feeds, my arm still in a cast but my mind sharp as ever. The chess pieces were set. Vincent thought he was playing against a weakened opponent. He had no idea I had rewritten the rules. If someone betrayed you this deeply, would you run or would you fight? Tell me. From my hidden sanctuary, I watched my own home become the stage for Vincent's performance. He played the concerned son-in-law perfectly, arranging flowers in my absence, comforting Priscilla, taking business calls on my behalf. Your mother would want the company to continue smoothly, he assured Priscilla over breakfast, surveillance audio capturing every word. I can step in temporarily while you focus on supporting her recovery. Priscilla's face showed conflict. Mom always kept business and family separate. Maybe we should consult the board first. Vincent's smile tightened. Of course. I'm just trying to help. The moment Priscilla left for the rehabilitation center, where a nurse I trusted would tell her I was resting and couldn't have visitors, Vincent transformed. He moved with purpose to my home office, pulling on latex gloves before methodically searching through my files. I watched him try various combinations on my safe, growing increasingly frustrated. He spent hours at my computer, attempting to bypass security. When Priscilla called to check in, he instantly switched to concerned husband voice. Just going through some household bills, darling. How's your mother today? Most revealing were his private phone calls in the garden, speaking in hushed tones when he thought no one could hear. The old woman survived the fall. Yes, I know that complicates things. The accounts are locked down tight. We need the transfer codes. Don't worry, I have a backup plan. Priscilla seemed increasingly uneasy. I caught her staring at family photos, particularly ones of me and her father. Once, she stood in my office doorway, watching Vincent rifle through documents with a troubled expression. She was beginning to see what I had seen all along. Russell Fong had been my accountant for 20 years. His brilliance with numbers was matched only by his loyalty. When Gloria brought him to our command center, his typically calm demeanor was replaced with controlled fury. Someone created shadow accounts mirroring your holdings, he explained, spreading documents across the table. They established transfer authorizations requiring dual approval, supposedly yours and Priscilla's, but the verification process was compromised. Vincent, I said. Russell nodded. The attack was sophisticated but left digital fingerprints. We've traced access points to Vincent's devices and locations he's visited over the past 6 months. Gloria placed a folder before me. Vincent Reed isn't his real name. He's Gregory Sanderson, born in Phoenix. He's been investigated twice for suspicious deaths of wealthy partners. Charges dropped both times due to lack of evidence. My blood ran cold seeing the photos of 2 women, both in their 60s, both who died in accidents after marrying Vincent. Both had substantial assets that disappeared afterward. He's working with someone, Dominique added. Phone records show regular calls to burner phones. And there's more. The quarterly financial audit happens in 3 days. If Vincent can access and transfer funds before then, he loses his window, I finished. $2 billion vanishing would trigger immediate freezes and investigations afterward. The timeline was clear. Vincent had exactly 72 hours to get control of my accounts. His desperation would grow with each passing hour. Keep watching, I instructed. Let's see what he does when the pressure builds. Priscilla's transformation happened slowly, then all at once. I watched through hidden cameras as she evolved from grieving daughter to suspicious investigator. It began with the hiking boots. While packing away what she thought were my belongings, she examined my custom boots from the mountain trip. The right heel showed marks inconsistent with Vincent's story of me slipping. Priscilla, with her attorney's eye for detail, noticed. Next came the medical report she discovered while organizing paperwork. The pattern of injuries didn't match an accidental fall. I saw her reading it repeatedly, her expression hardening. The final straw came when she overheard Vincent arguing on the phone about offshore transfers. Her face showed the heartbreaking moment when suspicion crystallized into certainty. That evening, she confronted him in the kitchen. The doctors said Mom's injuries indicate she was pushed, not that she fell, Priscilla said, her voice steady. Vincent's reaction was masterful, the right amount of shock and hurt. How can you even suggest such a thing? I loved your mother. Why would I harm her? 2 billion reasons, Priscilla replied coldly. He shifted tactics, pulling her into his arms. You're grieving, stressed. Let me help you through this. We need each other now more than ever. I watched my daughter's body stiffen, then deliberately relax as she made a critical decision. She would play along to learn more. You're right, she whispered. I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. Later that night, when Vincent was in the shower, Priscilla slipped into my private study and went straight to the hidden wall safe behind my favorite painting. The combination was her birthday, something only she and I knew. Inside, she found the envelope I'd left there the night before our mountain trip, marked in case of my death, open immediately. She read my letter documenting my suspicions about Vincent, the mysterious accidents, the evidence I'd gathered. Her hand covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. My daughter tucked the letter into her pocket and replaced the painting just seconds before Vincent entered the room. What are you doing in here? He asked, suspicion edging his voice. Just feeling close to Mom, she answered, wiping away genuine tears. At exactly midnight, Vincent received a text that sent him hurrying to his car. Our surveillance team followed him to an isolated diner off the highway where he met with a thin man with cold eyes and military posture. That's Thomas Quinn, Gloria identified him from our surveillance photos. Ex-military turned private security. Suspected in at least 3 contract killings. Through directional microphones, we captured fragments of their conversation. The old woman's heavily guarded at the rehabilitation center, Vincent was saying. But there's a window during transfer for her MRI tomorrow. Quinn nodded. And my payment? Once she's gone and the account's clear. 200,000, as agreed. You've hired hitmen before, Quinn remarked casually. Those 2 wives. Did they suffer? Vincent's smile turned my blood cold. They never saw it coming. Neither will Eleanor. After Vincent left, Gloria made a call to trusted contacts in law enforcement. Quinn was picked up on outstanding warrants before he could leave the diner. Back in my hidden command center, I watched Vincent return home, smug confidence restored. He didn't realize he had just provided us with his complete confession, or that his hitman was already in custody. He's planning to kill me during my supposed transfer for medical tests tomorrow, I told my team. But we'll be ready with our own surprise. The countdown had begun. Vincent had 36 hours left before the audit would lock him out forever. His desperation was growing, and desperate men make mistakes. On the surveillance screens, I watched him enter Priscilla's study, accessing her computer with practiced ease. He didn't notice the subtle change in her behavior, how she kept her distance, how her eyes followed him with new awareness. Do you think Priscilla knows more than she's letting on? Drop your theories below. Gloria spread photographs across the table, snapshots of a man's calculated destruction. The face in each was Vincent's, though the name changed: Gregory Sanderson, Nathan Powell, Vincent Reed. Your son-in-law has a pattern, Gloria explained, pointing to each photo set. He targets wealthy women, preferably widows or those estranged from family. He creates a new identity each time, with documentation that would fool most background checks. The photos showed Vincent with 2 older women. Patricia Hastings, 64, art collector and heiress to a banking fortune. Died in a boating accident off the coast of Maine 3 years ago. Margaret Weldon, 68, former tech executive with substantial real estate holdings. Fatal fall in her home 2 years before that. Both deaths ruled accidental, Dominique added. Both women changed their wills shortly before dying. Both estates were liquidated within weeks, assets transferred offshore. Russell pointed to financial trails. Same shell company structure each time. He's gotten more sophisticated with you. The digital forensics shows he's working with someone who has expertise in financial systems. My stomach turned cold. Who? Dominique slid another folder toward me. This is where it gets complicated. We traced the security breaches to someone with inside knowledge of your company systems. Someone who helped design them. The photo inside made my heart stop. Jeffrey Palmer, my company's former head of IT security. A man I'd personally fired 2 years ago for embezzlement. Palmer and Vincent connected 16 months ago through dark web forums, Gloria explained. They've been planning this since before Vincent even met Priscilla. My daughter was just. My voice broke. A means to an end, Gloria confirmed gently. The perfect access point to you and your fortune. I pressed my palms against my eyes, allowing myself 5 seconds of grief before straightening my spine. Where is Palmer now? Arriving tomorrow. Hotel reservation under his alias at the airport Marriott. The final piece fell into place. Palmer knew our systems intimately. Vincent knew me through Priscilla. Together, they could bypass safeguards I'd spent decades building. We have less than 24 hours before the audit, Russell reminded us. They'll make their move before then. The next morning dawned with tense anticipation. Vincent's deadline was approaching, and I watched through cameras as his composure began fraying. The transfer paperwork requires your mother's signature, he snapped at Priscilla over breakfast. The rehabilitation center won't allow it without her doctor's approval, which they're delaying. Priscilla stirred her coffee calmly. Perhaps we should wait until mother improves. We don't have time to wait. Vincent caught himself, lowering his voice. The quarterly audit starts tomorrow. Your mother would want these accounts secured before then. My daughter's performance deserved an award. She appeared concerned but trusting as Vincent outlined his solution. Documents prepared with my signature that needed only her countersignature to complete. Meanwhile, I finalized preparations with my team. Legal documents were prepared. Police were briefed. Security systems were reconfigured to my specifications. The trap was almost ready. That afternoon, watching Priscilla alone in her room, I saw her pull out our family photo album. She traced her finger over pictures of us through the years. Her graduation, my company's anniversary celebration, holidays with her father before his passing. She lingered on one particular photo, then suddenly froze. She flipped back several pages, examining another photograph with new intensity. She pulled both photos from their sleeves, holding them side by side. Dominique, I called urgently. What's she looking at? Dominique zoomed the camera. The photos showed Vincent at different events, but in the background of one, partially obscured, was Jeffrey Palmer. They knew each other before Vincent claimed to meet Priscilla. I watched my daughter's face transform as the final pieces connected. She carefully replaced the photos, wiped her tears, and straightened her shoulders. A gesture so like my own that pride swelled in my chest. As evening approached, I faced my own moral crossroads. Confronting Vincent meant exposing the cruel truth to Priscilla, that her husband had married her solely to access my fortune. That every kiss, every intimate moment between them had been calculated manipulation. She already knows, Gloria said gently, reading my hesitation. She's figuring it out herself. That doesn't make it easier to confirm, I replied. She loved him. She loves you more, Dominique countered. And she deserves the chance to help bring him down. Through our surveillance, we watched Vincent corner Priscilla in my study. The paperwork needs your signature now, he insisted, placing documents before her. Your mother's financial advisors are questioning the transfers. We need to move quickly. Priscilla hesitated. Vincent, shouldn't we consult her doctors first? There's no time. His mask slipped, revealing irritation. Your mother trusted us to handle things if she became incapacitated. And if she recovers? Priscilla asked. Vincent's laugh held no humor. With those injuries at her age, We need to be realistic. My daughter looked at this man, her husband, her betrayer, and made her choice. She picked up the pen. At 9 that evening, a rental car pulled up to my estate's service entrance. Security cameras captured Jeffrey Palmer exiting with a laptop case and small duffel bag. Vincent greeted him at the door with nervous energy. Everything's ready. Priscilla signed the transfer authorizations. We just need the system access. Palmer smiled coldly. The final security protocol requires biometric verification. That's why I'm here. They vanished into my home office, unaware that every word, every keystroke was being recorded. Palmer connected devices to my computer systems while Vincent paced. Once the transfers initiate, how long? Vincent asked. 90 minutes to clear all accounts, Palmer replied. By morning, the money will be untraceable through 6 different jurisdictions. Vincent checked his watch. And the old woman's transfer to the medical center? Scheduled for 8 a.m. Your second associate is in position. Vincent smiled. Perfect timing. By the time anyone realizes Eleanor Blackwell is dead, we'll be halfway around the world. I've prepared something for Vincent he'll never forget. Any guesses what I'm waiting with? Comment below. Vincent poured himself a celebratory whiskey as Palmer's fingers flew across the keyboard. Through surveillance cameras, I watched them hunched over my computer, breaking into the empire I'd spent a lifetime building. Final authorization code? Palmer asked. Vincent removed a folded paper from his pocket, the document Priscilla had signed hours earlier. Right here. Palmer entered the code, then frowned. That's strange. What? Vincent leaned forward. The system accepted the code, but it's triggered a secondary authentication. I've never seen this protocol before. A red warning flashed on the screen. Unauthorized access detected. System lockdown initiated. Vincent grabbed Palmer's shoulder. What did you do? Nothing. The signature must be wrong. Palmer typed frantically as alarms began blaring throughout the house. She changed the system. This is a trap. Heavy footsteps sounded in the hallway as my security team moved into position around the house. Vincent's face contorted with rage as he turned to find Priscilla standing in the doorway. What did you do? He demanded. My daughter stood tall, chin raised. I signed my real name, Priscilla Blackwell. Not the fake married name you wanted on those documents. Vincent's charm evaporated completely. You stupid woman. Do you have any idea what you've just done? Protected my mother's legacy, she answered calmly. Just as she protected me. Vincent lunged toward her, but Palmer grabbed his arm. Forget her. We need to get out now. This wasn't the plan. Vincent shouted. The money is gone, came a voice from the doorway. Vincent and Palmer froze, color draining from their faces as they turned toward the sound. There I stood, Eleanor Blackwell, very much alive, with my arm still in a cast but my eyes blazing with righteous fury. When they came home, I was waiting with a recording of every word, every plan, every confession I said, stepping into the room. Including your admission to killing 2 women for their money. Vincent's shock turned to fury. You're supposed to be dead. I finished for him. Like Patricia Hastings and Margaret Weldon? I'm afraid I'm considerably harder to kill, Gregory. Or do you prefer Nathan? So many names, so many murdered wives. Palmer edged toward the side door. I merely nodded, and Dominique stepped from the shadows to block his escape. The house is surrounded, I continued. Every exit covered. But please try running. It would simplify matters. Vincent's face contorted as he processed his failure. You don't understand what you're doing, he hissed. That money. My money, I corrected him. Every penny earned through decades of honest work. Not stolen through murder and deceit. His eyes darted wildly, calculating angles, options, escapes. Priscilla, baby, you don't believe this. Your mother's confused from her injuries. I love you. Stop, Priscilla held up her hand. I found the photo of you with Palmer from 3 years ago. You knew each other long before you bumped into me at that charity gala. Everything was planned. The masks fell away completely. Vincent lunged toward my desk, yanking open the drawer where I kept a small handgun for protection. But the drawer was empty. Looking for this? Gloria stepped in, holding my pistol. We removed it days ago, along with anything else you might use as a weapon. Vincent suddenly charged toward me, blind rage replacing calculation. Before my security could react, Priscilla stepped between us. Her right hook connected with Vincent's jaw with a sickening crack, dropping him to his knees. That's for my mother, she said, shaking out her hand. Vincent staggered to his feet, blood trickling from his split lip. In a last desperate move, he bolted toward the French doors leading to the terrace. He crashed through the glass, cutting his arms and face, but made it to the railing before Dominique's security team surrounded him. It's over, Vincent, I said, stepping onto the glass-strewn terrace. Or should I call you by your birth name, Gregory Sanderson? He looked at me with pure hatred. How did you survive the fall? The same way I survived 50 years in business surrounded by men who underestimated me, I answered. By being stronger and smarter than anyone expected. Palmer, seeing Vincent cornered, suddenly turned on his former partner. He planned it all. I just provided technical support. He's killed before. He told me himself. The cliff was his idea. Vincent lunged at Palmer. You treacherous. Police swarmed in, separating the men and reading them their rights. As they were handcuffed, Detective Carlos Rivera, Gloria's former partner and trusted friend, approached with satisfaction. Eleanor Blackwell, he nodded respectfully. Your evidence package was most thorough. Confessions, financial records, murder plans, all recorded with proper warrants. The district attorney is quite impressed. As Vincent was led away, he gave me one final look of pure malice. This isn't over. Oh, but it is, I replied. Completely and utterly over. When the police cars pulled away, Priscilla collapsed into my arms, sobbing against my shoulder. I'm so sorry, Mom. I brought him into our lives. I never saw. I held my daughter close. You saw when it mattered most. You chose truth over comfort. That's all any mother could ask. Together we walked back into our home, bruised but unbroken, our bond stronger than any betrayal. If you've ever stood up to someone who tried to hurt you, I want to hear your story in the comments. The courtroom fell silent as the judge delivered her sentence. Vincent Reed, or Gregory Sanderson, as court documents now identified him, stood impassively in a tailored prison jumpsuit. The defendant has been found guilty of attempted murder, conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft, and accessory to previous murders, Judge Hernandez announced. I hereby sentence the defendant to life imprisonment without possibility of parole. The gavel struck with finality. Vincent didn't look at me as officers led him away, but I watched him go, this man who had nearly destroyed my family, who had killed other women less fortunate than myself. Jeffrey Palmer received 20 years for his role in the conspiracy. The investigation also uncovered Vincent's role in the deaths of his previous wives, bringing closure to their families. The unnamed hitman who'd been waiting at the rehabilitation center turned state's witness, providing crucial testimony about Vincent's murder-for-hire schemes. Outside the courthouse, reporters clamored for statements. Priscilla squeezed my hand as we faced the cameras together. "Justice was served today," I said simply. "Not just for me, but for every woman who trusted the wrong person. My focus now is rebuilding what was nearly taken. Not just assets, but trust and family bonds." The financial recovery proved straightforward. Vincent had managed to transfer only a small portion of my assets before our trap sprung. Russell and our legal team tracked and recovered every penny. The $2 billion remained secure, though my perspective on wealth had profoundly changed. More difficult was the emotional reconciliation with Priscilla. The divorce proceedings were mercifully quick, but healing the wounds of betrayal took longer. "I keep replaying every moment," she confessed one evening as we sat by the fireplace in my study. "Every time he smiled at me, touched me, told me he loved me, knowing it was all calculated. I feel so foolish." I took her hands in mine. "You weren't foolish. You were loving. There's a difference. How do you trust again after something like this?" I considered the question carefully. "You trust wisely, not blindly. You listen to your instincts. And you remember that one person's betrayal doesn't define everyone else's capacity for loyalty." The healing came gradually. We attended therapy together and separately. We rebuilt our routines: Sunday dinners, morning walks, strategy sessions for the company that was now transitioning to her leadership. My approach to business and security transformed completely. I implemented new protocols at Blackwell Global Logistics, including advanced background checks and multi-layered financial approvals. Dominique oversaw a complete security overhaul of our estate, balancing protection with the warmth of a family home. Most importantly, I found unexpected strength in surviving the unthinkable. At 72, I had faced my own mortality on that cliff edge and emerged with renewed purpose. "You could retire now," Gloria suggested during one of her visits. "You've earned it." I shook my head. "I'm not finished contributing yet. But I am changing my focus." Within 6 months, I established the Blackwell Foundation for Survivor Advocacy, supporting victims of financial exploitation and domestic violence. The first grant funded a specialized prosecutor position focusing exclusively on cases involving predatory relationships against vulnerable individuals. "Your experience is helping others protect themselves," Priscilla noted as we reviewed the Foundation's initial impact report. "Something beautiful from something terrible." 1 year after Vincent's sentencing, I stood at the cliff edge at Rockwood Mountains. Not the same overlook where he had pushed me, but a different one, peaceful, with a view that stretched to the horizon. Priscilla stood beside me, her hand in mine. "Are you sure about this, Mom?" I nodded, removing the small urn from my bag. Inside were the ashes of my fear, written on paper and burned in a private ceremony. The nightmares, the moments of panic, the lingering distrust. Together, we scattered the ashes into the wind. "The fall didn't destroy me," I said as we watched the ashes disappear into the valley below. "It showed me how high I could rise." Back home, changes continued. Priscilla had begun dating again, cautiously, with a therapist's guidance. I had stepped back from day-to-day operations but remained board chairwoman, mentoring the next generation of female executives. The East Wing where I had hidden now housed the Foundation offices. The surveillance equipment had been removed, though our security remained vigilant. Our home felt like a home again. Each morning, I stand before my bathroom mirror and remind myself of what surviving taught me: trust must be earned, not given. Instincts should never be ignored. Wealth means nothing without people worthy of sharing it. And sometimes the greatest strength comes not from avoiding falls, but from how you rise after them. My name is Eleanor Blackwell. I built a billion-dollar company, survived an attempt on my life, brought a murderer to justice, and reclaimed my family's future. My story isn't just about betrayal, It's about the resilience that lies within each of us when faced with the unthinkable. This story might save someone you love from being betrayed. Share it now, and subscribe so you never miss another story that could protect you or your family. Lastly, download your ebook titled Suspense and Family Drama Short Stories by clicking the link in the pinned comment.